Well, look at that. The Sumerians got something new. Here's a look at the brand new Heroic Signatures Conan, the Battle of the Black Stone action figure. Forged in the spirit of sword and sorcery, this action figure brings to life Roberto Della Torre's legendary artwork from Conan, Battle of the Black Stone. Every detail, grim blade, battle-worn fury, and unyielding stance echoes the raw mythic power of that unforgettable event and captures the spirit of Roberto's original piece, ready to strike down all those that serve the vile power of the Black Stone. To think the character of Conan first debuted in 1932, and of all the adventures that the barbarian has had, he's got a new adventure lined up for him with a brand new line of action figures, courtesy of the folks over at Heroic Signatures. I'd like to thank the folks there that actually reached out to me and provided this early sample. He currently is on a pre-order. The pre-order started September 1st, and it's going to be going all the way to October 10th. If you'd like to get your hands on a new line of Conan figures, you can click the link down below. Now, there are going to be a few little changes from the early sample that we're going to be looking at here to the final product that gets dropped. Of course, we're going to kind of talk about all those details and the many accessories that come included with Conan. But first things first, as we always do, of course, I'm going to take my tool here, which isn't a sword or an axe. It is, though, my trusty tape measure. And let's go right to the very top of Conan's head. If I'm looking at this correctly, and I like to think that I am, you're looking at Conan standing 7 inches in height, working out to be a figure that's 18 centimeters tall. I'm sure you're thinking right now, how does the figure scale with others? Well, probably the best example, I can think of at least, is to display him along with He-Man. Now, I would have imagined, based on the way they've built the body, that he would have been about the same size as the Matty Collector Master Universe Classics He-Man, and that wasn't the case at all. In fact, though, their version of Conan stands a lot taller than He-Man. So how does he stack, say, for example, with the Vintage Collection? Well, he's a little shorter, and he obviously doesn't have the build, nor does he have the size of his torso like He-Man has, but he probably would scale a little bit better with that if you're looking to display the two together. I hope you won't mind if I take a few moments away from looking at his weapons just to bring back in the box that Conan comes included in. Now, let's just slide over here the figure for a second. There will, though, be a couple of changes made to the box itself. You can see, though, the fantastic artwork featured on the front. One thing, though, that they will be changing eventually when the figure gets dropped is that on the side of the box, you can currently see that there's absolutely nothing here at all. It's just completely blank sides. They will, though, be also adding embossed symbols. So that will be one thing that's going to be changing for the box. The box does have itself a sleeve, so we can just slide off the sleeve right here. And this then will look like, well, you'll have yourself a clear window where you'll be able to see the figure sitting inside. The back of the box does also have a read-up, which I just happen to have read at the beginning of this review. I took more so like the bottom part of the paragraph, and I read this section right here. But you can also see as well, there's a good substantial read to know a little bit more about the barbarian. And of course, there's also stats down below of exactly what comes included with the figure as well. This comes to us again from the folks over at Heroic Signatures. I'll provide all the details down below if you guys want to check out the pre-orders and find out a little bit more about the company. I'm sure first, though, you'd like to see the accessories that come included with Conan. Yeah, I thought that you would. The figure does come included with some swappable hands, and he just has, just look at the lay of the land of all the accessories that he also has for different weapons, different axes, different swords, different things. Let's look at those things right now. The one thing, though, that did kind of throw me off is that the figure does come included with a pistol. I know there's, though, a reference to that in the comics. Somebody, I'm sure, will probably tell me down below in the comments section. But he does come included with a pistol. He does technically also have a gripping hand that has a trigger firing finger. So, of course, you can take yourself the pistol, providing, again, I can hold on to it, and just slide the pistol handle inside his grip. Again, I'm not really sure, though, why they included the pistol. Somebody, again, that probably has read a lot more Conan than me would be able to tell me why. He does also have, I suppose, while we're sticking with hands, a whole bunch of swappable hands. On the ends of his forearms right now, you'll see that the figure does have some relaxed hands. Good for displaying the figure, obviously, without any weapons. But obviously, if you're going to be wanting to change and to display him with weapons, then maybe not using these hands, nor maybe using these hands would be a good idea. Closed fists come also included with him, but I'm going to put those off to the side. He does also come included with a couple of dynamic hands. And he does also have another gripping hand. Now, I have to be honest with you guys. I did drop a hand earlier, and right now I can't find the whereabouts of this. Just imagine, if you will, though, it's going to be this hand and just a mirror flip of that. So while this one's going to belong on this side of the figure's forearm, the other one, the mirror flip, will go right over here. and he has 2 of those as well. He has, interestingly enough, a couple of swappable feet. So if you want to have, for example, him not with obviously the furry boots on the ends of his legs, then you can swap those out. You can slide those off and give him feet instead. I'll show you, don't worry. The figure does also come included with a swappable head. I suppose I probably could have waited a little while before I showed you guys what the alternate head sculpt looks like. It looks a little strange, I know, because it doesn't have any hair on the top of his head. The figure does have a hairpiece swap. He does also have 2 helmets, so you can change those around as well. Looking, though, at his weapons, the figure comes included with a couple of axes. You can probably see which one I lean a little bit more towards. Yeah, the bloodied axe. How cool is that? There's a good amount of this. They've gone generous with the blood. It's all across the blade. Ooh, don't worry, this isn't sharp. It's all across the blade. It's nowhere on the handle. I suppose the blade is probably the thing that's going to be getting the most of the red. Then he also comes with a clean axe, which isn't at all the same. This has a completely different blade. Still, it's not sharp. I love the way that they've added the silver finish to it. And if you look real close, you can actually see there's some scratchings, indentations. They're not perfect looking blades, nor really should they be either if he's in the battlefield and he's using these all the time. These should look crude, and I like that they do. They're made of a fairly hard enough plastic, not the kind of plastic, though, that you really have to worry that they're going to be snapping on you. This one also does have a handle. There is no place that I can see on the figure that you can actually clip the handle onto, but I guess the idea of a dangling axe is not a good idea anyways. The figure does also come included with a couple of swords. Technically, he has 2 already without the sheath, and then he has a sheath sword down there as well. One with a little bit more of an elaborate guard, as you can see, is all molded here in black plastic. It gets nicely added a little bit of silver on the end, and you got yourself a more dark gunmetal grade blade. The plastic, again, for this is very forgiving. He also has himself a regular broadsword. Soft enough, again, plastic that you don't have to worry about these breaking. The guard is painted really well here in gold. The handle, notably, though, is a little curved to the side. I'm not sure if that's the way it's supposed to look, but it does have a little bit of a bend when you get this out of the plastic tray. A little bit of gold gets tipped on the end as well. Lastly, though, for the swords, the figure does also come included with a sword that happens to be sheathed. You don't really have to make the noise while you're unsheathing the sword. And in case you are also curious too, you can't really use like this hilt. If you stick in the broadsword, it just isn't going to fit. This one is specifically dedicated for using with this sword here. This sword is a little bit shorter in size. It's a little bit broader of a blade, and it's got a completely different guard and hilt. One thing that's cool, though, about the hilt is not only is it well sculpted and equally well painted, but there's a clip right here. Where? Right here. That you can take yourself the figure, and there's a loop featured on the front. You just take yourself the scabbard, or the sheath, and you basically just fit that in place. I did notice, though, that the clip seemed a little large, and I wondered for a second, would there be a real way to clip that onto the figure's front of his waist? And there is. It's not going to be going anywhere. It does cause a little bit more issues when it comes to the figure's posability, just because you're going to have a harder time to kind of get around things. But at least there's a storage place to store the blade. I think, though, it probably could have worked a little bit further over. There doesn't seem to be any other additional loop other than the one that's featured from the front, but at least there's a place to store the sword. Last things, though, the figure does also come included with the feline staff. Really well, again, sculpted, all done here in brown plastic. The attention, though, to detail for an accessory this small, really nice work. It does have the look of real wood as well. Like they just took this from like a root from a tree and just carved out a cat on the top of it. Meow. Then lastly, though, Conan also comes included with a spear. The spear has a few feathers there on the top that seem to be a different paint, obviously. They're more kind of a greenish beige. Then, of course, you got yourself the point on the top. Not much of a point, though. And again, they're using kind of more... I don't really want to kind of show you guys this and express the idea that they're using a very soft plastic. But again, I'd rather this kind of more forgiving plastic. It's the kind that is very user-friendly, not the kind you really have to worry about this snapping on you. Did we cover everything? I think we covered everything. Let's cover at least the top of Conan's head. So right now, the figure technically did come out of the packaging with something different, but I want to kind of start things first with just hair on his head. Picking up the Conan, though, so you guys can see a closer look at the figure. Now, some changes, though, will be made for the final figure, one of which being the fact that Conan's teeth will be a little bit brighter than what you're currently seeing. I think the teeth are really fine. I can't think that he's stopping for a second to stop and brush his teeth. But if you were concerned, though, that the teeth weren't bright enough or white enough, the figure's going to have that as well. So there's going to be a few changes there. Some additional articulation is also something that they've worked on for the final release of the figure. So again, this isn't the final. This is just an early look at what we're going to be getting. Conan's head, though, looks fantastic. I don't think I could have picked a better looking Conan. Now, granted, again, you can swap out the head, so if you want to have a more neutral expression, it has that look as well. All of these have those swappable pieces, so you can just take off the hair piece from the existing Conan head, and we can put it on top of this Conan's head, just like that. I'm just going to hold the head for right now. One thing I did notice, though, is swapping out the heads. I had to heat it up in hot water. In fact, there were actually a few things I had to heat on the figure, realizing later I didn't even need to. But the head, I would certainly say, is one of those things. Really nice looking head sculpt overall. Again, if you want to go with the neutral expression. I think for my display of Conan, I would much rather go with the angrier expression. And again, with that, it's just a case of popping off the head. Now, I think they're also planning to add some additional adhesive on the inside. It's just a light enough glue that everything sort of stays in place. I didn't really notice, though, that the hairpiece moved around. I mean, it does, but it also is something that can easily be put back in place. I mean, if you look at the inside of it anyways, there's already the shape of that shape that's on the top of his head. So once you kind of get it all on there, even if it does move around a little bit, I don't think it moves around to the point where it becomes a nuisance. Back, though, to Conan's head, the one that we have right now on the top of his body. Yeah, that's a good looking head sculpt. Now, again, if you'd like your Conan to have more of a helmet, then he also has that look as well. He has actually two different other helmeted heads. Essentially what they are is all different helmets, but then they have the hair pieces down below. The hair pieces are already attached to the actual top crown, so you can't remove it. The helmet stays in one place, and so does the hair as well. So basically all you just do is you just attach it onto the top of his head like that, and you have this horned look for Conan. If you like maybe the alternate look as well. Now, this was actually the helmet that they used at the front of the packaging for their artwork. Again, you just pop that off, and you replace it with the new one. The hair does change a little bit too, so with every different helmet, you get a different hairstyle as well. I think of all the helmets, this is definitely my favorite. I like the way that the hair flows a little bit more. It's not concealed behind the leather flaps there. I think this is the best head sculpt of all the three, or at least the different hair pieces. This one, again, admittingly, does move around a little bit. It is something, though, that they're going to be fixing with the figure's final release. Conan, you'll see as well, does also have the necklace. That necklace is something that you'd have to take the head off first and remove the necklace. I can't really see why you'd really want to take off the necklace. It's just one of the more looks. It's a classic look to the character. I feel it's something that needs to stay in place. Speaking of things that need to stay in place, the figure does also come included with a leather tunic. Now, the tunic was something I thought to myself, I'm going to have to probably heat these arms, or at least try to remove them, because I thought the only way to actually have this piece off, because he basically has a torn bit of, I would almost even want to really say like a tank top, but it's a torn bit of cloth that's covering over his body. Initially looking at this and thinking I would have to detach the body, remove the arms, and do all those things, I tried to do that initially. Conan does actually have a band that goes across his bicep, and with unfortunately heating this in hot water, only just the arms, this ended up snapping the band. It was just a little thin bit of plastic that wrapped around his bicep. I didn't realize till though later, that if you look at the way that they've actually attached this, there is a peg right there. Oh, right there. I mean, it's so concealed and small. I mean, you'd be easy to overlook it. Basically, all it is just you detach the top of the body. Oh, actually, sorry, it's on this side. But even still, though, if you look at that, that's so small you wouldn't even be able to spot it right away. What you'll really need just to do is unpeg this. And then I would almost even say it's probably beneficial just to kind of take off Conan. And we'll just kind of remove this off the top of his body. Now, this just slides over top of his head. You don't have to worry about removing his head. You don't have to worry about removing his arms. Don't do any of those things. Don't do what I just did, or don't do what I did earlier. It's easy just to detach the peg and just remove it altogether. So let's say if you want to just kind of keep Conan with his bare chest, you can do that as well. It's a really well sculpted chest. I think they've done a nice job of painting it as well. This would, in theory, be one of the 3 different ways of displaying Conan, really being mixing and repeating. You could then have the tunic on him. You could have, again, like the torn bit of tank top cloth. And then with the different head sculpts that he has, let's just say, for example, you want to get a hairpiece going on Conan. Even just that alone, that's a good-looking Conan figure. Boy, oh boy, is that ever great. But again, if you want to have the tunic on him, essentially what it is just, if you look at the side of this, there's that same peg, but it actually is times 2. So there's a peg right here and a peg right here. Detach the both. Get my finger in there just to do this. And just open up the tunic. And we're basically just going to kind of slide this up his arm. We're going to have to kind of slide this over top of his head as well. And this might even just be easier just to remove the hairpiece. Drape it over top of his head. It's a little tighter of a fit, but you'll get it over there. Just get it over his ear there. There we go. Slide it over top of his body. I want to also really make sure that his necklace is properly brought down. I could probably even fix that later. And then just go to the side here again, and you're going to attach the two pieces together. Now this is unlike the other one. I found it a little bit more of a tighter fit. I had a real hard time actually just to kind of bring the pieces together. And once you peg them together, they seem to come loose a little easier. Now that may be something that they're going to be fixing with the final release of Conan here. But again, if you want to have the figure with the tunic, it's easy to pull off. Now to finish that look, let's maybe get this crowned head. And again, we'll just put the helmet on top of his head like that. Make sure it's all the way on there. And now Conan has a third look that you can have the figure displayed with. With that, and then of course all the other accessories that he has, the swords, the axes, there's a lot of cool ways of displaying the figure. For the rest of things that are going on here with Conan, he's got the furry little, I guess little wristbands there on the sides of his hands. One thing you really want to make sure though that you do is when you swap out his hands, for example, they're easy to remove from the peg, but these also can be easily removed as well. And there was a few times that when I changed his hands, that the bracelets fell off as well. So you want to make sure that the bracers stay in place when you peg in the new hand. So again, the hand just kind of goes in place like that. And then of course you can have the figure holding a sword. Yeah, overall though, he's got his loincloth bound down below here as well. Softer plastic. They didn't really so much finish the paint underneath. I don't think they really needed to either. I don't think Conan's really sporting any underwear or anything like that underneath the loincloth. But it's a really well sculpted figure. Paint is good there too. He's got a dark tan, but I think that works really well for the character of Conan. Then, of course, if we don't drop the figure, he does also have his furry boots. Now, I did talk earlier, though, that the figure does also have feet, bare feet. So what you can do, though, and this may not be the look that you're going to want to have. Like, I would imagine, though, if you want to go barefooted for Conan, likely, though, you probably would end up removing the tunic and probably just have him bare-chested instead. What you'll do, though, is just detach the feet like that. And then you'll take the fur end of the boots and slide it off. Not so hard to do. Just do the same thing on the other side as well and slide this off. Now when you are putting on the new feet, if I get these all the way off, when you put on the new feet, they don't go down like this. They actually go on an angle. So again, you want to make sure that the feet are on the right side. And you'll just plug this in place on one side. This would also be something too that I think if you're having any issues to get the feet in place, you can also heat them up in hot water. Now, I didn't have an issue necessarily with the feet. I find they were easy enough to peg in place. Again, when you're looking at the peg kind of slips in like a slipper. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. And again, we'll do it on this side as well. So if you want to have Conan, though, with sporting just barefooted like this, that's a look that you can easily pull off. I think he's just as finished, though, down below. I really prefer myself to have the boots on. If you don't really like the look of the fur boots, just, again, leave them completely off. It's entirely up to you how you'd really like to display the figure. For when it comes to displaying the figure, I'm sure one thing you may want to know is just how much posability does actually get packed on the figure. Now, there are a few things, though, that they have planned for the initial. Like this, again, is just the early look at the figure. But when they finally release the figure in, well, I guess when the pre-order ends in October, then they're going to start to ship the figure after that. There are a few, though, things that they're going to be changing when it comes to the figure's articulation. Mainly, though, that the arms will bend back a little bit further than what they do right now. And I did notice, though, with Conan's arms, there is swivelage. You can move them back, and it's harder now to probably see because it's got the tunic over top of it. But there's also a crunch moving forward and back as well. Also things too is that they're going to also fix the shoulders. So the shoulders do stick out a little bit further. You may be able to spot it on the sides. That's also something that's going to be fixed with the final figure as well. For the figure's articulation, though, Conan's head is going to be on a ball joint. Now, one thing I've noticed, though, with the ball joint is that you do periodically feel you need to pop it back in place. But the head does look down, it does look up, and you can also move it back and forth. Just know, though, and again, this may have more to do with the fact that this is just an early look at the figure. I've noticed, though, with my head, it does pop off frequently. Head rotates back and forth, no issues there whatsoever. The top of the torso is going to be on a ball joint. Now, it's probably hard now to see because the tunic was in the way, but he has essentially the top of his torso is independently ball jointed from the lower half of his abdomen. And then further down from that, the figure does also have a ball joint here too. There's quite a bit of mobility at Conan's possession. His arms do rotate all the way around. You can hinge them also out as well. Now, I don't know if maybe this is one thing that they will be fixing with the final release of him, that I've noticed that the shoulders, this side is a little tight. This side comes out, not necessarily, I would say, comfortably at 90 degrees. Pulls off more so, I think, 45 to about 50 degrees. The figure does have a bicep swivel. More so, I shouldn't really say bicep swivel. He has essentially like a swivel right here, but the swivel is all essentially one piece. So what they've done is to make this a seamless look, they've essentially pegged it right here, right kind of within his armpit. So if you look at it, there's actually a peg, and the peg plugs into the bicep. That's the part that swivels. It's not actually something that's visibly seen from the side. It does have a single bend in the elbow. Let's just get things going here. And you can also swivel back and forth. And the hands, there goes the other one. At least I know where that one is. I'm going to go back and retrieve that in a second. But that does also swivel back and forth too. The only other thing I would say is like the pegs are really small for the wrists. So as you are moving frequently, though, the hands, you might find that the hand pops off. Again, if you know where it is, I can see it at least right now. It's down there. It's something that you can just peg it back in place. The legs do split. The working behind the scenes are those ball joints. There is a swivel at the top of the thigh. Double hinge on the knee. And then again, whatever design you want to display with Conan, whether you want to go with the furry boots or you want to go barefooted, they're going to work exactly the same. The pegs do move back and forth. I know, though, I just don't have it pegged all the way on there. There we go. The foot moves up and down this way. There is an ankle pivot. But one thing that's missing, though, on this release, well, this look of Conan, let's just put the figure down here for a second. One thing, though, that the bare feet don't do, that the regular boots do, is that actually the boots do have toe articulation. The bare feet don't, but the boots do. So there is technically a little bit of additional posability there as well. Conan, though, is a fantastic looking figure. I grew up loving Conan as a kid. Conan the Adventurer was also one thing I loved watching Saturday mornings on Fox. To finally now have ourselves a release of Conan really is a dream come true. Now, then again, the figure does have quite a lot of accessories at his disposal. He does also have a lot of swappable accessories, too. So if you don't like the look of the tunic, or you don't like the look of the helmet, you can also go with different looks as well. The figure does have a couple of different swappable hair pieces, so you already have just the regular long locks of hair if you want to go that route. And then he has two different distinct helmets, one from another. There's this one. Again, I think that works a little bit better, though, with the tunic. I think, though, when it comes to displaying this guy on the shelf, I think I'm more to go with, I think, the torn, tattered fabric that he had at the very beginning, and sport him then with this helmet. Again, I think it's my favorite of the three. All in all, though, it's just a great-looking figure. Now, the pre-order is currently going as we speak. It started September 1st, and it's going all the way, I believe, till October 10th. Now, again, if you want to know a little bit more about what's going to be going on with that, you can click the link down below. That will take you over to the pre-order listing of Conan, where you can get this one for yourself. I know, though, that they are planning to do some other figures as well, that this is just the beginning. Just the beginning. And if this is how well we've gotten these figures, and this sort of sets the bar pretty high with a Conan, I'd love to see, and I can't wait to see what the company has in store for collectors moving forward. Seem to have started the video with one look to the Barbarian. Now we're wrapping up with another. I think that's the thing I like the most about Heroic Signature's release of their Conan the Barbarian, because on paper, this company could have just tested the waters with collectors, released a safe Conan. And when I say safe Conan, just with the amount of budget that would have gone into just releasing a bare-chested Conan, just with his long locks of hair, let's throw in an axe, let's throw in a sword, let's throw in some swappable hands, and just to see how much interest would have been out there from the collectors before they released any other releases of him. Because when you start to look at and take the tally of the things that come included with this figure, on paper, this figure could have been released as 3 separate ones. The way that he looked at the beginning of this video, again, a bare-chested version of him, and now the way he looks right now, 3 separate Conans. They didn't do that. They threw everything in there, all in one box, and allowed then the collectors the choice exactly how they want to display the figure. I do like the way he looks right now with the leather tunic that color matches really nicely to the loincloth and also the leather flaps on this particular helmet. The fact that he has 2 different swappable faces, the more stoic face, the angrier face, 2 different helmets, the hairpiece, again, he has multiple axes, multiple swords, multiple accessories, and then on top of that, he also comes included with a pistol. That pistol, by the way, though, wasn't something obviously Conan the Barbarian was traditionally known for having. The concept of him wielding one actually comes from a non-canonical comic series of Conan and Frank's Jurassic Adventures, where he's given one to use, but obviously Conan doesn't know how to use a pistol. I like that they actually threw that in there. An accessory that, as a Conan collector, one would never have even expected a pistol, but Heroic Signatures threw that in there as well. Now, again, this figure is going to be slated to drop. At least the pre-order is ending October 10th. As we're speaking right now, the pre-order is currently live. It started September 1st, 2025. It's going to be wrapping up October 10th, 2025. And again, like, this is an early look at what the figure's going to be. There's going to be a few little tweaks that they're going to be making. By the way, though, I did actually end up finding the hand. That allows him, though, to unsheath the sword with one side and have the bloodied axe in another. But with this early look of the figure, there are going to be, again, some few changes that we've already kind of discussed in this video. The whiter teeth, a few little kind of tolerances and adjustment issues, though, in the shoulders. Out the gate, though, with at least this being an early look to Conan, I am really happy with the way he turned out. Now, this, by the way, is the first figure in their whole line of heroic signatures. They've already kind of teased the idea that perhaps they're going to be doing a Solomon Kane, a Kull, and even other versions of Conan. If this is any indication of what we're going to be getting with future figures from heroic signatures, sign me up. Again, a big thank you to the folks over at Heroic Signatures that did provide this early look of Conan from Battle of the Black Stone. What do you guys think of this figure? Let me know down below in the comment section. Is this someone that's already got you reeled in and can't wait to get more figures? And is this one that you guys are going to get pre-ordered in on? Again, like the pre-order, I'll provide the link down below in the video description. If you guys did enjoy this video, you can do a solid and throw it a like. You guys want to stick around for more so? I hope so. I hope so. Hit that subscribe, turn on that bell so you're going to get the reminders from YouTube every single time a new video posts. And speaking of new videos, yeah, we got some more coming your way. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.